I'm Mark Dawson from the Self-Publishing Show, and this is Self-Publishing Spotlight, where we shine a light on the indie authors who are changing the world of publishing, one book at a time.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Spotlight. We meet indie authors at all stages of their careers and ask them a series of 5 questions. 5 questions about their process, their mistakes and their successes, 5 answers that will help you level up your own author career. My name's Tom Ashford and I'm part of the Self-Publishing Formula. Don't forget that you can get your self-publishing resource kit at selfpublishingformula.com/starter kit.
This week's guest is Jim Cliff. He's written 6 books in the detective fiction and non-fiction genres, and he lives in the UK. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks very much for having me.
So do you want to start by talking about the different non-fiction books that you've got, and of course the detection fiction as well?
Sure. So in non-fiction, most of my books are quiz books about TV shows, really. There's one about Friends, and there's ones about general TV in the 80s. And the other one is a book about logical fallacies, how to spot them, what different kinds of logical fallacies are, and it uses examples from Trump speeches and quotes to illustrate them.
Nice. And what are your detective books about?
It's a private investigator based in Chicago. He's a kind of a fairly young guy as opposed to the more stereotypical grizzled old ex-cop. And he's enthusiastic, always wanted to be a private investigator, and gets involved in a few interesting cases.
Awesome. Okay, well, if we dive into the 5 questions, first one is, why do you write?
I've just always written, really. From when I was very young, I either wanted to be a stuntman or an author, and the stuntman thing didn't really work out.
Yeah.
So, authors don't tend to be in so much danger. So, it's just something I've always done for fun.
Yeah. Was there a particular reason that you decided to go into, TV-based non-fiction and stuff like that?
I've always been involved in TV, and my first job was working at Channel 5, and I've involved in kind of making films. I'm a video producer by trade, so TV, film, video has always been something that's really interested me, and I'm a bit of a telly addict, always watched a lot of American TV. Nice. So it seemed sensible.
Nice. And then was there a particular reason you chose detective fiction as a fiction genre?
It's most of what I read, to be honest. My favorite author is Robert B. Parker, the author of the Spencer books, and he was kind of an inspiration to me and to my character. And it's the thing that makes me want to keep turning the pages. So yeah. If I enjoy it, then I figure my readers will as well.
Yeah. And did you always want to go indie published, or did you consider going traditional?
When I wrote my first one, I had a kind of agent for a while who, I don't know, but they seemed to kind of string me along for a while and just keep telling me that there was going to be a meeting with publishers and so on, but it never really went to anything. So when Kindle came along, I kind of grabbed it with both hands, and it seemed to work out for me. Yeah.
And when did you start writing?
I published my first one, The Shoulders of Giants, in I think 2011.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a bit less competition on Kindle back then, so yeah. I did okay at the beginning, and it's a bit tougher to get a book out there now, really, and kind of get noticed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, question number 2 is, how do you write? So do you tend to, with your fiction, plot stuff out before, or just see where it takes you?
I very much see where it takes me. I'm trying to get more of a structure in place before I kind of get into a book, and with my new one that I'm working on, I'm trying to map out the story points so that I know where I'm going, but I don't put a lot of detail into it. It's very much sometimes the characters will take me in a direction I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah. In terms of your non-fiction, how does your approach to writing one of those books differ?
That is probably more structured, actually. That certainly with the quiz books, it's just about finding interesting angles for questions. With the logical fallacies, it was about, I kind of always wanted to just write about stuff I'm interested in. The other kind of ideas I've got on the back burner are just areas of nonfiction stuff that I like to read about, that I find interesting, and I want to kind of just present it in a slightly different way from what's already out there.
Yeah. And what sort of software do you use?
I write mostly in Word, actually.
Yeah. Never tempted by Scrivener?
I've had a go with it, and I can kind of see the point of some of it, the kind of the virtual index cards and moving them around and stuff like that. It hasn't kind of captured me quite. Maybe I need to put more work into it, but yeah, Word seems to work for me.
Fair enough. Well, question number 3 is, are you a full-time author? If you are, how did you get there? And if you aren't, what steps are you taking to make it happen?
I'm not. No, I'm a video producer. To be honest, I'm not sure I have the discipline to work as an author full time. I don't sit down and with a blank page and just decide I'm going to write for a couple of hours. I tend to let things percolate in my brain for a while, and then when it gets to a point where I think, yes, that's something, then I write it down. So I don't know if I could spend a kind of day needing to have a certain word count by the end of the day and make it happen.
Yeah.
I'd love to get closer to that, I guess. But it's just about generally slogging away and getting the books out there, really.
Yeah. I mean, I presume you're passionate about video production and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing that for a very long time. I've been doing it professionally for about 10 years. And before that, I was always making videos for fun.
Right. Okay. Question number 4 is, what mistakes do you think you've made and what have you got right?
I think I spent quite a long time in the beginning just kind of thinking, well, people will find my books, and there wasn't much I needed to do. So I didn't really do very, very much marketing. I don't still spend very much time doing that. So I think I need to put more into things like my website and social media and stuff that is actively getting my name out there and the books out there. I think that's the main thing, really. Is it's important, I think, for most people to understand. I think people are getting it more and more, especially people who listen to the SPF and stuff like that, that it is a business. It is about there's marketing needed. It's not just about making a product and hoping that it gets found.
Yeah. In terms of what you've got right, is there any particular success stories that you've had along the way?
I think the people seem to enjoy the writing, so that's really good. The reviews that I get tend to be really overwhelmingly positive, so I seem to be doing that right. That's good. For my main non-fiction book, The Fallacious Trump, which is the logical fallacies book, I have a podcast which I do because when I was writing out, I thought, well, I could do this in an episodic way. I could do this where we explain one in each time. And so for almost 2 years now, I've been doing podcasts kind of on that same basis. And that has definitely increased the sales of that book, and kind of as a separate income as well. It's not huge, but there's a little bit of Patreon income from that as well.
Nice. What's the podcast called?
It's called Fallacious Trump.
Oh, it's the same one.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, question number 5 is, what's your final piece of advice for authors starting out in indie publishing?
There's such a lot of great information out there. And it's very easy to get bogged down in just kind of. I'm very much a researcher. I will read all there is to read on a subject before I kind of throw myself into it.
Right.
And it's easy to get bogged down in that. But if you can find the right people you trust, people like the SPF, it is a great organization, and the podcasts are great, and there's a lot of great stuff on the website. So a few sources like that you can trust and that have shown success, and kind of look at what they're doing and take away what you can from it, and make your own path.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good advice. And those are your 5 questions up. So thank you very much for coming on, Jem.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's it for this week's Self-Publishing Spotlight. Don't forget that you can get your free self-publishing resource kit at selfpublishingformula.com/starter kit. And if you want to appear as a guest on this show, send us brief details about yourself and your writing at selfpublishingformula.com/spotlight-guest. I'm Tom Ashford, and I'll see you again next week.